Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I am in the Decoy duck carving studio of Rich Smoker, a master carver. I'm down here outside of Crisfield on the big Anamasic River on the eastern shore, which maybe not coincidentally is on the Atlantic Flyway for you bird watchers. Today we're going to talk about decoy carving. We are quite a little distance from Baltimore, but we are by no means the only folks that have traveled this path. Let's turn the clock back before I turn it over to Rich. Let's turn the clock back to 1900, say, and let's say you were invited to a nice dinner at the Rennert Hotel in Baltimore, or maybe the Maryland Club, and out comes this fancy plate with a duck on it. How did that duck get there? Well, it maybe came from the Chesapeake Bay, from somewhere near here, maybe up near Havre Grace. It had a good chance of being brought down with shot from the Phoenix Shot Tower in Baltimore, and the decoys that lured your dinner out of the sky into shotgun range were probably carved by somebody like Rich back in 1900 here outside of Crisfield or Havre Grace or Rock Hall, a deep tradition for sure. Before I turn it over to Rich to talk a little bit more about decoy carving, I want to say just two quick things. One is there are loads of connections between Baltimore and here on the Eastern Shore, a lot of them food related. Certainly crabs and oysters have made this journey for time immemorial, as have produce, corn and tomatoes and watermelons. And then chicken, and all of you I'm sure have gotten chicken on Route 50 heading back from the Eastern Shore, barbecue chicken, or the Purdue chicken in your grocery store. Along with that, back in 1900 were ducks coming out of the Eastern Shore here up to Baltimore to places like the Rennert and the Maryland Club. Two more quick things. One is that duck on your plate got there lured in by a decoy, and we're probably not talking about a fancy decoy all painted nicely. We're talking about 400 or 500 decoys put out in the morning to mimic a flock, the enormous flocks of ducks that would go by. A good duck hunter in that day could bring down 100 ducks in a day at $1 or $2 a piece. That was a decent living back then. So really quite an industry. Finally, want to wrap up with one more word. What were you eating at the Rennert Hotel with that duck? You might have had terrapin soup to go along with it. If you were lucky, it was a canvasback duck, the king of ducks, at least eating ducks, that is. And then this is from a 1909 Baltimore Sun article interviewing a local chef. The article is called "The Wild Duck, How to Shoot It and How to Eat It." And the chef makes a point to say that the duck should be not stuffed and should fly through the oven. Don't overcook it. And then, as opposed to the lowly homegrown ducks, say from Long Island, it should be served with currant jelly, not applesauce, and it should be served with wild rice, not potatoes. So that delicious plate you have, all made possible with a wonderful decoy carved in a place like this. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smoker to tell us a little bit more. We're all yours.
Hi, my name's Rich Smoker. We're in Marion, Maryland, and I'm tickled to death that you're here in my shop. I've been carving birds for over 54 years now. Learned from my father, with my father, and my brother also does it, so this is the biggest thing of my life. I'm pleased to announce that the 2019 National Endowment for the Arts Heritage Fellow, which is the biggest honor a person can get in my position. And this is my world, carving birds. You're here on the banks of the Big Anamasic River in Somerset County, Maryland. Main reason we live here, that I want to live here, is the passing of the birds. I get to see the different progressions of birds over the course of the year. Wooden decoys were used to lure birds into the gun. As near as the earliest record I've ever found was like 1830 in Maryland. They needed something to lure the birds closer to the shot, so they would make wooden decoys. Wooden decoys are primarily completely United States, American made. This is where the art form originated, and this is really where it's been perfected. So that was 1830s that it started, and it's moved on. I don't have any decoys from the 1830s, but I do have some from the late 1800s. There's the William Hevern, one of my favorites in original paint. Here's the Thomas Bernard. And these are both used on the Upper Bay, outside of Havre de Grace. And it goes from that. Plastic hadn't been invented until the 50s, so we were using wooden decoys up to that point. Decoys themselves really aren't utilized a whole lot anymore for the wooden decoys to hunt with, being that we have so much plastic and it's so much cheaper. I still do make a lot of decoys to hunt with, and that's primarily their purpose. Like this is one that's going to be painted here shortly, hollow and wooden, of course, but the average guy doesn't want decoys like this. But what these do is they go into decoy contests. I have a world championship that I've won, and that was with hunting decoys. I also placed third best in the world one time, and that was with a miniature owl. So it goes on a different genre, into decoratives. What we have done is we've taken decoys to the point where it goes beyond hunting to what people envision what birds are. It brings nature into the home. Shakespeare said it best. He said, "One touch of nature makes the whole world kin," and it really does. And this is really what I see in life. I'm in love with the form. I love to see the birds on the water. I love to see the birds in the air. And I love to see the forms. All of my work begins with a piece of paper and a drawing. That's what this one did. This is going to be what we call a coot, American coot. And what I have done is I saw this and transferred it to a piece of paper, and this is a cutout out of a piece of wood. This is a piece of our local cottonwood. What I'll do with this is I will take my hatchet and I hold it and I'll remove some of the excess wood on it by working it from the back, sort of, and then I'll turn it and I'll work it from the back the opposite way. This way I get to really feel what the wood is, really get to feel how the wood works. Once I've used that, I'll grab my spoke shave with it. I can take the facets that I left on with the hatchet and fold them all together. Once I'm satisfied with the overall beginning shape, I'll switch over to my knives. And with my knives, I'll complete the rounding process. Until we get to the point where I like what I've done. And I'll cut the bills in, put some holes in for eyes, and put the eyes on it. I'm primarily a competition carver. When I do that, and more detail I can put into it, the more I enjoy it. I go down to the Ward Brothers workshop, which is where the Ward Brothers worked in Crisfield, Maryland. I'm down there once a month, and we sit in there and we carve. If you can come in and see where history was made, and you can also see how we do it. I do a lot of classes for the Crisfield Heritage Museum, which they are online. The Ward Museum of Wildfowl Art out of Salisbury. I try to get out there and show people how to carve and try to get more people into the fold, and find out that I say it's my tagline: carving is fun, and make it fun.